Hi, I'm Dr. Elliot Adam from ElliotOracle.com. I'm also the author of the award-winning Fearless Tarot and the award-winning Tarot in Love, Consulting the Cards and Matters of the Heart. Both books are published by Llewellyn and are available online wherever books are sold, and I have some signed copies available on my website, ElliotOracle.com, if you're looking for the perfect gift for the tarot lover in your life. And it is time for this week's Oracle Reveal. So yesterday on my social media, I placed up a photo of 3 different animals, and I asked you to use your intuition and just ask yourself which animal's calling to you, because that animal has your message. And the 3 animals were the unicorn, the tortoise, and the walrus. So if you're just joining me now, ask yourself which animal's getting caught in your head. It doesn't have to be your favorite animal, it just has to be the one that seems to get lodged in your brain because that animal has your message. So for those of you who picked the unicorn, the card says indulge your creative, imaginative, and magical side through some form of artistic expression. And for me, the unicorn is all about tapping into your magic. It's a mythical creature, and it can tell you that magic does exist. And magic is nothing more than us setting our intentions, pointing at what we want, and wishing it into being by making that our new normal. So whatever your goal is, creatively speaking, the unicorn could say that it's time to start practicing being in that realm. If you're looking for success in a certain area, maybe you need to be where those people are, or maybe you need to be in that area, or maybe you need to be engaging with that sort of thing, and that becomes your new normal, and then the magic really takes off. It starts to actually manifest in your own life. First card for unicorn is where it's best to place your focus. And we have the beautiful Angel of Temperance from the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. The Angel of Temperance pours 1 full cup into an empty cup. And what that's a symbol for is that it's time for you to pour your energy into the thing that's felt neglected or like it's been running on empty in your own life. Temperance can really indicate that this is a time of replenishment for you. Also, it's striking that the Angel of Temperance is found sandwiched in between some of the darkest cards of the major arcana. After you get through the Hangman and the Death card, you get to that sweet oasis of the Temperance card before doing battle with the devil and then dealing with the loss of the Tower. And what this symbolizes to me is that sometimes it's in the midst of our darkest places that we find that angel waiting for us, that we find the sacred part of ourselves that really does offer us our healing. And so I just feel for you this next week, if you pick the unicorn, this is a time to replenish. It's a time to be fearless. It might be a time to shine a light, even in the darkest places. But it's time to give yourself what you're needing, what you've been neglecting up until now. Next is going to be advice from your inner wisdom. And we have another major arcana card here for the unicorn in the Fool. And the Fool is all about taking a chance, beginning anew. The Fool is the Fool because he doesn't know something yet, and yet he takes the risk. Yet he makes himself go out there and do it. And so too for you this next week, it's so important that you're not talking yourself out of your greatest success because you don't know what's going to happen, or because you're afraid of looking foolish. The Fool is telling you to cast off your fear of looking like a fool because it's cheating you out of a full life. Also, the Fool is a card of travel, movement, journeys, opening yourself to something new. It's time to be teachable. And I feel like by putting yourself in a new place, you're going to replenish the part of yourself that's felt neglected. Maybe you're going to rediscover the powerful part of yourself again. And since we're dealing with 2 major arcana cards, you could even be dealing with the sacred in your own life again. And the mythic archetype that's going to help you this next week, which I'm using from the Oracle of the Celestial Deities by Latao Wang. I'll leave a link in the description for how you can get this beautiful Art Nouveau mythic deck. But the mythic archetype here is Eros. And his card says desire, playfulness, and the wish to connect. And Eros is the god of love. He's the god of passion. And what this could say is that it's also time to follow your heart. Maybe what's been neglected is that part of yourself that wishes to connect. And maybe it's time for you to dive back into the world and even risk looking foolish doing so in order to make that connection happen. Also, Eros is the god of passion. Maybe what's neglected is your own passion. When's the last time you felt absolutely passionate about what you were doing or where your heart was engaged? Eros can help you find your way there. And finally, as God of love, Eros can tell you, let love be the answer. Open your heart. Stop closing yourself off. The sacred for you is going to be found in that realm of love. Next, we're going to go into the Tortoise animal spirit. And this card says, you're too fragmented, so do whatever it takes to get grounded. And Tortoise is that very strong archetype of Mother Earth. It really helps us feel planted, grounded, centered. If you've been feeling spacey this last week or just feeling like things are disconnected, do some Tortoise medicine. Maybe take off your socks and shoes and put your feet in the grass outside if the weather permits. Maybe it's time to feel the earth beneath you. But it's time to ground your energy. If the energy just feels like it's floating around you, just collect it into your center and allow yourself to feel much more grounded, much more centered as we go into this next week. First card for Tortoise is where it's best to place your focus. And we got the beautiful Queen of Wands from the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. Who doesn't love the Queen of Wands? She just embodies all the qualities that so many of us admire. She's confident. She's warm. She holds the sunflower, which always turns its face toward the light, so she's optimistic. She's the actress of the tarot, meaning that she can conform to whatever the environment requires at the time, whatever is needed to elevate the energy. And she's got that magical black cat in front of her on her throne. And this animal can really indicate that she's in touch with her own magic. When I see the Queen of Wands card, I think of the words self-confidence. And I just feel like this week for you, it's so important if you pick the Tortoise to be confident, to be warm, and to allow your magic to shine. The next card is going to be advice from your inner wisdom. And we got the Death card. And it's very interesting to me that, everyone goes, oh, the Death card when they see it. Well, because it's named Death, and that might sound kind of heavy. And there's some tarot readers who just say, oh, death just means change, big deal. No. Death does mean change, but it means permanent change. That's why it gets us a little scared every time we see it. There's a major threshold in front of you, and it's important for you to cross it when we see the Death card. It's important that you're cooperating with what needs to end and what you're trying to invite in. And yet your guide through the death process is the lovely Queen of Wands. She's telling you to hold your head up high, to be courageous, and to turn your face toward the sun. Oftentimes on a death card, there's a sun rising over the horizon in the background. Unfortunately, Pagan Otherworlds Tarot left that symbol out of there. But the Queen of Wands, as I said, holds the sunflower, which turns its face toward the light. There's always a rebirth or a renewal after an ending. And I just feel like it's time to turn your face toward the light of what that new beginning is for you. Death card can say that you're grieving something. Something has ended. It's time to release it. It's time to move on. But it's also a time to be confident about the next chapter of your life that's really opening up to you. And the mythic archetype that's going to help you this next week is Medusa. And her card says fear, reflection, and the wish to survive. And how interesting we got Medusa, who is another archetype that can sometimes represent our fear. Sometimes our fear around a transformation. The myth is saying that you cannot look Medusa directly in the face or she could paralyze you and petrify you and turn you to stone. And what that's a symbol for is sometimes we're not well equipped to handle our fears by just diving right in at them. Sometimes we need a mirror to look at, something to reflect on that helps us see the fear from a different vantage point. That's why I love tarot, because it's a perfect mirror. It takes all your issues, it puts them on the table, and it doesn't personalize it. So as a reader, if I'm telling you what's going on, you're not feeling attacked. You're not feeling like I'm going straight to you. I'm pointing at the table. I'm pointing at the cards here. And we're talking about this in a safe space that's separate from you directly. Same with Medusa. This might be a time to examine your fears surrounding change through a tool, through a mirror, whether it's tarot or whether it's just a conversation with someone else. You're needing a buffer to deal with this directly. But yet there is this desire to survive. And I just have a little secret to tell you. Death isn't the end. There is a rebirth afterward. And so there is never really that fear of not surviving that should be in your mind. There is the sense that something else is opening as well. And then finally, we got the Walrus animal spirit. And this card says, remain vigilant about the current situation. Pay attention to signs and omens and let them dictate your choices. And Walrus is observant. pays attention, it's watchful, it's alert on the shores. And so this could be an animal archetype where you're attracted to it because you need to pay attention. You need to open your eyes. Maybe spirit is trying to communicate with you right now with a sign, a signal, an omen. Maybe the answer you're looking for is right in front of your nose and you just haven't been able to see it up until now. First card for Walrus is where it's best to place your focus. And we got the Five of Wands, which is long associated with conflict. And yet, without conflict, there is no growth. Sometimes the Five of Wands is also associated with competition. It could be that you're wanting to move forward with something in your life, but there's so many different voices clamoring to be heard. They're all pulling you in different directions. Sometimes the Five of Wands isn't competition that's coming externally from other people. Sometimes that conflict or competition is coming from different aspects of your mind that aren't in harmony with one another. Either way, I feel the way out of the conflict, out of the tension surrounding it, is to stop and breathe and take a step back and pay attention to the big picture. Whenever I see the Five of Wands, I just feel like it's important to rise above, to look at the conflict from some sense of distance. The advice from your inner wisdom this next week is actually the Three of Swords reversed. And when the Three of Swords comes up reversed, it says that it is time for some major healing in your heart. Maybe the conflict that's internally happening for you is bound up around heartache, sadness, grief, something that's disappointing. And yet, this is the time to heal it. When the Three of Swords comes up upside down, it's as if the swords would fall out of the heart by gravity alone. Nothing's keeping them in there. And I just kind of feel like this is a time to release. It might be a time to be watchful for a sign, a signal, a message, maybe even from your ancestors that's really helping you release the thing that you've been carrying in your heart for so long. I don't get afraid of challenging cards in the tarot because they come up when healing needs to happen, and they're a blessing. They really do show that it's important for you to pay attention to what your heart needs at this time, to mend old wounds. And in order for those wounds to mend, you have to withdraw the shrapnel from the wound first. And so it's time to release, I feel, for the Walrus. It's time to let go. And it's time to pay attention to those signs of support that are all around you right now. It's really going to help you let go of this stuff for good and all. And the mythic archetype that's going to help you with this appropriately so is Venus, the goddess of love. And her card says beauty, value, and the wish to love. And Venus can indicate that it's time to love yourself. It's time to give your heart what you want. Maybe you're surrounding yourself with healing, especially around issues that come up from relationships. You know, it's known that if we open up our heart, eventually it does get hurt. Eventually we do accumulate wounds in this lifetime. It doesn't matter how blessed or fortunate it looks from the outside to people, everyone's going to have their share of heartache. And yet Venus, the goddess of love, shows her compassion to you. And she says that it's time for you to heal the heart, heal the wounds. You know, Venus is associated with the heart, and I just feel like it's the heart center that you need to pay attention to this next week. Look for a sign, a signal, an omen that comes from the goddess of love herself this next week for you, and you'll see that she'll be on the mend. Unhook yourself from the conflict and let love be the answer. And that is this week's Oracle. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you're absolutely going to love a one-on-one session with me. You can book an appointment with me at elliotoracle.com. I'd love to get into your personal questions, the things that you really want to look into, and I'd love to see what the cards have to say about your particular situation. Also, I have some signed copies of my book, Fearless Tarot and Tarot in Love, available at elliotoracle.com if you're looking for the perfect gift. And I do hope that you're all having a wonderful week this next week. And I do hope you take care, because I will see you again here next week, same time, same channel. Thank you all of you who like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. It really does help the channel grow. All right, that's all for this week. So I will see you again next week. So do take care.